Every morning when I open my eyes, I feel my body strong and light, free from pain, without needing a single pill, and with a heart at peace. At 94 years old, I still live alone in my little home. I cook my own simple meals, care for the plants in my garden, and sweep the porch with the calmness of someone who has discovered that even after 90, life can remain gentle and beautiful. People often ask me, "What's your secret?" I just smile. There's no magic formula. Only a handful of small morning habits I've stayed consistent with for many years, never once giving them up. If you wake up feeling stiff, drained, or mentally foggy, don't believe the idea that this is simply normal aging. I'm living proof that it doesn't have to be that way. Today, I want to share the 5 morning habits that have kept me healthy, active, and mentally sharp, sometimes even sharper than people half my age. And the best part, they don't require medications, pricey treatments, or complicated methods. Just give me a few minutes of your attention, and I promise to give you something more valuable than quick fixes, real hope, lasting strength, and a practical plan you can begin as soon as tomorrow morning. If you're looking to feel more energized, start your day with clarity, and build habits that actually make a difference, then stay with me. Don't forget to hit the like button to support this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the practical tips. I'll continue sharing simple things that can truly transform your routine, even if you're starting from scratch. And I'd love to know, where are you watching from and how old are you? Drop a comment so we can share this journey together toward a lighter, healthier life. I used to believe I wouldn't live past 70. My parents both passed away young. My father died of a heart attack at just 62. My mother struggled with illness and left us before turning 60. My siblings also departed early, one at 58, another shortly after 60. It felt like an unshakable family curse, a destiny written in stone. So when I reached my 70s, I honestly expected the worst. My body ached constantly, I felt exhausted all the time, and I convinced myself that this was simply the natural course of aging. But deep down, a part of me refused to surrender. Each time I looked in the mirror, I asked myself, is this really all there is? Isn't it possible to live longer and live better? That question was the spark that set me on a journey to search for answers. I no longer wanted to depend on bottles of pills. I didn't want my days to revolve around hospital visits, endless prescriptions, and gloomy prognoses. More than anything, I didn't want to repeat the fate of my brothers and sisters' lives cut short, marked by silence, regret, and a feeling of unfinished stories. So quietly, I began searching. I read, I observed, and I experimented with small changes. And then, almost as if by accident, I stumbled upon a simple morning routine that would alter the course of my life. It didn't begin with any drastic transformation, no miracle cure, no secret formula. Just a few small choices I started making each morning, repeated over and over until they became second nature. And then something remarkable happened. Within a few short months, the constant aches began to fade. My thinking grew sharper, clearer. That heavy cloud of exhaustion that had clung to me for years simply disappeared. For the first time in decades, I felt like my body and my mind were finally working with me, not against me. That was more than 20 years ago. Now at 94, I still live on my own. I cook my meals, care for my home, walk with steady steps, and embrace each day with joy. And here's the part that astonishes even doctors: I don't take any medications. Each time I go in for a checkup, their reaction is always the same: your results look like those of someone half your age. But the real transformation wasn't just physical. It was in my mindset. Everything changed the day I made one simple decision to treat my mornings as if I were protecting my entire life. These habits don't require money, a gym membership, high-tech gadgets, or expensive supplements. What they require is a promise to yourself. And if you're sitting here thinking it's too late for you, let me assure you it began at 74. It doesn't matter how many birthdays you've celebrated. What matters is the choice you make with the time still in front of you. And that's exactly why I'm here to share with you the 5 morning habits that transformed my life and that you can begin practicing as soon as tomorrow. If you wake up in pain, live your days drained of energy, struggle with a foggy mind, or simply long to rediscover the joy of living well, then this message is meant for you. The very first habit that truly revolutionized my health was surprisingly simple: drinking a big glass of water the moment I wake up, before I eat, before I move, even before I think about coffee. At first glance, it may seem insignificant, but this one small action gave me clearer thinking, eased the pain in my joints, and finally put an end to the dizzy spells that haunted me for years. Now it has become automatic, the very first thing I do when I open my eyes. Before adopting this habit, my mornings were filled with stiffness all over my body, swelling in my hands, a heavy dragging sensation in my legs, and a foggy head that sometimes took hours to clear. For the longest time, I believed this was just normal aging, the same explanation my doctors repeated again and again. But when I turned 75 and the symptoms grew worse, I decided not to settle for that answer. Instead, I began listening more closely to my body, reading and experimenting with small adjustments. That's when I discovered something eye-opening. Every morning, I was starting the day already dehydrated. While we sleep, we naturally lose close to a liter of water simply through breathing and perspiration. By the time we wake up, our body is running at a deficit, and most people, without realizing it, make things even harder by reaching for coffee right away. Because coffee is a diuretic, it pushes even more fluid out of the body. The consequences: a sluggish brain, stiff and aching muscles, dizziness when getting out of bed, morning fatigue, and even trouble remembering things clearly. Once I understood this, I made a simple swap. I traded that first cup of coffee for a tall glass of fresh water, and almost immediately I began noticing profound changes. My dizziness disappeared. The swelling in my hands and feet went down. My mind felt sharper, and I suddenly had energy in the early hours of the day, something I hadn't experienced in years. Even my sleep became deeper and more refreshing. The most astonishing part, I hadn't changed anything else. Not my meals, not my exercise, nothing. Just one glass of water every single morning without fail. The results were so dramatic that this practice became absolutely non-negotiable for me. Science fully supports what I experienced. Research from Johns Hopkins Medicine shows that even mild dehydration in people over 65 can reduce brain function by more than 25%. Other studies have revealed that dehydration fuels inflammation in the body, intensifies joint pain, and speeds up the aging of our cells. On the other hand, starting your morning with proper hydration helps regulate blood pressure, improves digestion, and keeps your joints lubricated. 3 vital pillars for long-term health and independence. For me, this habit has been a daily companion for more than 20 years. It's simple, it's free, and it's available to everyone at any age. So if you wake up with aches, constant tiredness, or a foggy mind, begin right here. Forget supplements, forget complicated diets, forget that first cup of coffee. Just start with water. It may seem insignificant, but very often it's the small, consistent choices that sustain a long, clear-minded, and self-reliant life. The second habit that completely reshaped my health was stepping outside for early morning sunlight every single day, even if only for a few minutes. This became part of my life after I discovered how closely my energy, mood, and even immune system were tied to vitamin D, something I barely gave thought to until my early 70s. Now this daily moment of natural light feels as essential to me as the food I eat or the water I drink. In the past, I spent most of my days indoors. If I went outside, it was usually late in the afternoon or evening. Like many in my generation, I grew up believing sunlight was dangerous, that the less exposure, the better. But over time, I began to feel constant fatigue, random body aches, unexplained sadness, and a persistent lack of vitality. I visited several doctors and underwent many tests, but the answers were always vague. It's just age. Deep down, I knew that couldn't be the full story. Then during one appointment, almost by coincidence, a doctor decided to check my vitamin D levels. The results came back shockingly low, far below what is considered healthy. And in that moment, everything began to make sense. A deficiency in vitamin D doesn't just weaken bones, it undermines the immune system, reduces muscle strength, and can even disrupt emotional balance. When your body runs low on vitamin D, everything becomes heavier. Your muscles ache more, your energy drains faster, and even your thoughts can grow dim, as if a shadow has settled inside. Instead of rushing to bottles of supplements, I chose a more natural approach first. I began stepping outside every morning between 7 and 9 a.m., when the sun is still soft and safe, allowing its gentle light to touch my skin. Just 15 to 20 minutes with my arms or legs exposed was enough to begin making a difference. Within only a few weeks, the change was undeniable. My energy lifted, the aches faded, and what astonished me most, my mood stabilized. That constant nagging sense of fatigue simply vanished. It felt as though my body was finally syncing with the rhythm of nature again. Science backs this up too. Vitamin D is naturally produced when the skin absorbs sunlight, but as we age, our bodies struggle to create it as efficiently. Studies show that a deficiency in this crucial vitamin is linked to a wide range of health issues: osteoporosis, depression, chronic inflammation, lowered immunity, and even faster cognitive decline. One article published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism highlighted that vitamin D deficiency is extremely common among older adults who spend most of their time indoors, rarely exposing themselves to natural sunlight. This lack accelerates the aging of both body and mind. For me, going out into the morning light has become much more than a health habit. It feels like a daily ritual of renewal. Breathing the crisp morning air, feeling the sun's gentle warmth on my skin, watching the world awaken, all of it ties me deeply to life itself. And if I could give only one recommendation to anyone who feels they're aging too quickly, it would be this: step outside. Let the sunlight touch you every day, even if just for a few minutes. This simple act can awaken an energy you may have forgotten was ever within you. It costs nothing, requires no equipment, and for me, it was nothing short of life-changing. Right alongside it, another habit soon followed: slow, mindful stretching in those first moments of the morning. No harsh movements, no heavy workouts, just gentle, deliberate motions awakening each part of the body with care, awareness, and consistency. This simple practice gave me back my mobility, eased the pain in my joints, and helped me feel truly present inside my own body again. Before I discovered it, just getting out of bed felt like a battle. My lower back ached, my knees felt stiff and locked, and my shoulders carried constant tension. I would cling to chairs or lean against furniture just to make it to the kitchen, always afraid I might trip over a rug or lose my balance. It was a painful, frustrating slowness, almost as if my body had rusted overnight. And no matter how much I moved throughout the day, the stiffness in the mornings only seemed to worsen. Then one day I came across an idea that completely changed my outlook. The human body isn't designed to leap from total rest into immediate activity. It needs to be gently awakened. So I began a very simple ritual. Right there in my bedroom, before even leaving the room, I started dedicating 5 to 10 minutes to light stretching. I'd lift my arms above my head, roll my shoulders, slowly tilt and rotate my neck, extend my legs, stretch my hips, and carefully loosen my lower back. Nothing intense, nothing forced, just deliberate, respectful movements as if greeting each muscle and joint with kindness. At first there was discomfort, but after a few weeks my body began to respond in remarkable ways. The pain subsided, my posture straightened, and most importantly, my confidence in moving around grew stronger than ever. Science fully supports these results as well. Studies show that morning stretches stimulate the nervous system, increase circulation, and lower inflammation in muscles and joints. According to Harvard Medical School, regular stretching among older adults significantly improves balance, enhances flexibility, and dramatically reduces the risk of falls. There's also a mental benefit. Stretching releases endorphins, the body's natural pain relievers and mood boosters. It truly works like medicine for both body and mind, fighting the stiffness and heaviness that so many people accept as an inevitable part of aging. For me, the greatest reward has been the return of lightness in my movements. Today, I climb stairs without fear. I walk with steady, confident steps, and I honestly can't even remember the last time I tripped or fell inside my home. And for someone like me, 94 years old and living alone, that regained freedom means everything. And it all began with just a few mindful minutes each morning, giving my body gentle attention before the rest of the world demanded anything from me. So if you wake up feeling stiff, if you're afraid of falling, or if you sense your body's aging on the inside, start with stretching. Slow, easy, intentional. You don't need a gym, fancy equipment, or even a trainer. All you need is presence. Movement itself is life, and when you learn to truly listen, your body always responds. For most of my life, however, my mornings looked very different. My breakfast was the same as many people's: a slice of bread with butter, a cup of strong black coffee, and sometimes even a piece of cake. It tasted comforting, yes, but within an hour I would already feel drained, my head heavy, and my body begging for another rest. It wasn't until my 70s that I finally understood what was wrong. My body didn't need sugar and refined flour first thing in the morning, it needed protein. The first time I changed my breakfast, I admit it was almost accidental. I had come across an article explaining how protein helps maintain muscle mass and slows down cognitive decline in older adults. At that time, I was already noticing my muscles shrinking and my strength fading, so I decided to experiment. I swapped the bread and sweets for scrambled eggs, a small portion of chicken, or a simple bowl of plain yogurt with seeds. At first, it felt unusual, but within days, the results spoke for themselves. I stayed full longer, I felt stronger, and my mind was sharper, more focused and more energized than it had been in years. Over time, I came to understand why. Protein is a cornerstone for cellular repair, muscle preservation, and healthy brain function. And as we age, our bodies require more of it to sustain what once came easily. Beyond that, starting the day with protein helps stabilize blood sugar levels, preventing those sharp peaks and crashes that leave you groggy or weak even after a full night's sleep. And the science backs this up again and again. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirms what I experienced firsthand. Older adults who consume enough protein at breakfast maintain more lean muscle and perform better physically as the years go by. Other studies even connect protein-rich diets with a lower risk of falls fractures and symptoms of depression among people over 60. In other words, this isn't just about building strength, it's about protecting independence, supporting mental health, and ensuring a higher quality of life. That's why for me, breakfast has become non-negotiable. Every morning, I make sure to include a source of protein, whether it's eggs, plain yogurt, tuna, shredded chicken, or even a small portion of lean meat. Sometimes I sprinkle in seeds like chia or flax along with a piece of low-glycemic fruit. I don't follow a strict diet or complicated meal plan, but I've learned that beginning the day with the right kind of fuel changes everything. My body responds better, my mind remains steady, and I can move through my day with energy, focus, and clarity. So if you wake up feeling drained, if your strength seems to be slipping away, or if your mind struggles to stay sharp, I urge you rethink your breakfast. Let go of ultra-processed foods. Avoid starting the day with sugar overload. Instead, put protein at the heart of your first meal. It may seem like a small change, but I am living proof that it can restore vitality, rebuild strength, and give you more quality years to truly live. And then came the fifth habit, the most surprising, and without exaggeration, the most transformative of them all. Unlike the others, it didn't come from a doctor's advice or something I read in a magazine. It came from an ancient practice, one that Buddhist monks had relied on for centuries. Only recently has modern science begun to recognize its profound effects. Today, people often call it a brainwave frequency ritual. I know it sounds like something mystical, almost like a scene from a film. That's exactly what I thought at first. But once I began practicing it, I finally understood why this ritual has survived for centuries, passed down through generations, and now validated by scientific research. The effect this practice had on my life was nothing short of profound, physically, mentally, emotionally, and even financially. I first came across it while reading about longevity and neuroscience. One study described how certain brainwave frequencies, when activated early in the morning, could reorganize thought patterns, calm stress, balance emotions, and sharpen focus and mental clarity. It turned out this was something monks had been practicing for centuries, a blend of sound breathing and focused intention carried out for just a few minutes each day. Out of pure curiosity, I decided to try it. From that very first attempt, I felt something shift, and I've never stopped since. Every morning before the noise of the world sets in, I put on my headphones and listen to an audio designed to guide the brain into the theta state, the state linked with deep meditation, intuition, and mental rewiring. While I listen, I remain still and concentrate on just three things: how I want to feel today, what I want to invite into my life, and what I need to release. It sounds almost too simple, yet the effects are extraordinary. Within days, my anxiety dissolved. Within weeks, my decision-making became faster, sharper, and more precise. And within months, changes began happening all around me, even though I hadn't altered anything in my external life. What amazed me most was how my health also transformed. My blood pressure normalized, my sleep deepened, and my emotions found a steady balance. It was as if this ritual placed my brain in a state of alert calmness, ready to act, yet peaceful at its core. When I later discovered that monks in deep meditation naturally produce this same brain activity, I understood what I was experiencing wasn't just relaxation, it was true alignment, body and mind working in harmony. Many people dismiss it at first because it seems mystical or too spiritual, but science is beginning to catch up with what ancient wisdom already knew. Studies from universities like Harvard and Columbia have demonstrated that specific sound frequencies can literally change how the brain processes the world, and reducing inflammation, enhancing memory, and activating areas linked to creativity, concentration, and emotional well-being. And I can tell you from lived experience, this practice works. I didn't suddenly land a new career, I didn't win the lottery, and I didn't stumble upon some miracle cure. What happened was subtler but far more powerful. My ideas began to flow effortlessly. New opportunities appeared, and even my financial life, which had always been steady, grew into one of abundance. Today, if I had to choose between a cup of coffee and this ritual, I'd choose the ritual without hesitation. Just 7 minutes is all it takes to prepare my mind for everything the day will bring. Over time, this practice has become a sacred moment in my mornings, something I look forward to as much as breathing fresh air or seeing the sunrise. And the most beautiful part, absolutely anyone can do it. It doesn't cost a cent, requires no prior experience or belief system, only your intention. If I'm here at 94, living with clarity, serenity, independence, and even prosperity, I can say with certainty this habit has been at the very heart of my journey. It didn't just shift the way I thought, it reshaped the reality I live in. If there is one habit I wish every person could try at least once in their lifetime, it would be this one, the frequency ritual. It may sound simple, and it is, but in the noisy, fast-paced world we live in today, I believe it has become more essential than ever. Think about how most mornings begin for people, the phone in hand before they even rise, minds already flooded with worries, buzzing notifications, deadlines, and demands. Hearts start racing, thoughts scatter, and stress settles in before breakfast is even served. Over time, that constant state of alert wears down both body and mind. We begin to live on autopilot, disconnected from ourselves, accepting stress as normal, when in truth it's not. That's why this ritual touched me so deeply, because it teaches me every single day to begin at the right pace. Before the noise of the world intrudes, before the problems appear, before the brain shifts into overdrive, I sit, put on my headphones, and align my mind with a state that is calmer, more open, and more centered. And that simple shift changes everything. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you respond. For just a few minutes, it's like stepping away from the chaos of the outside world and returning home to yourself. And this is not magic, it's biology. Theta brainwaves activate regions of the brain tied to emotional balance, creativity, clearer decision-making, and even the body's own ability to heal. This is the very same state that monks reach after years of disciplined meditation. But today, thanks to technology, you can activate it in just a matter of minutes. It's not a trick, it's not wishful thinking, it's neuroscience. And this practice becomes especially powerful if you've been struggling with anxiety, sleepless nights, irritability, low energy, or even financial setbacks. Because here's the truth, when the mind falls out of balance, every area of life begins to drift. Your energy plummets, your productivity weakens, your emotions become harder to control, even your decisions start to decline, and suddenly you're trapped in a cycle that feeds on itself. But the opposite is just as true. When you learn to tune your mind first thing in the morning, everything else begins to align. Your emotions stabilize, your clarity returns, your choices improve. So don't dismiss this habit simply because it sounds unusual. Sometimes the breakthrough you've been waiting for comes from the very thing you've never tried. If you feel stretched too thin, if stress and fatigue have become your daily companions, or if your emotions feel scattered, start here. 7 minutes, a pair of headphones, a quiet moment carved out just for you. And who knows, like me, you may discover that the peace, vitality, and even the opportunities you've been searching for were only a frequency away. Now I know what you might be thinking. There's no way I could do all of this every single day. And the truth is, you don't have to. I didn't begin doing everything at once either. My health didn't transform overnight. My sleep didn't suddenly stabilize. My mind didn't clear in a single week. It all unfolded gradually, step by step. First came the water, then the morning sunlight, later the protein-rich breakfast, And much further down the road, the audio ritual that tied it all together and completed my transformation. The biggest mistake people make is believing they have to reinvent themselves instantly. That doesn't exist. What does exist is daily dedication, small intentional choices repeated with patience and care. It's like building a house brick by brick. You don't rush, you don't force you. Simply keep going, respecting your own rhythm and allowing the structure to rise. That's exactly what I did. And that's why it worked. The truth is, lasting health doesn't come from guilt, strict discipline, or constant pressure. It comes from attention, from presence, from the kind of care we so often give to others, but rarely offer to ourselves. And when we finally begin treating ourselves with that same respect, the body responds, the mind responds, and life itself responds. It doesn't matter how old you are, what your current routine looks like, or what your past has been. What matters is that you're still here, listening, breathing, and capable of starting anew. Even if it's with the smallest of steps, even if it's just 2 minutes of quiet in the morning, the most important thing is to begin with sincerity. Because when your gesture is honest, the results eventually appear. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to turn into a master of discipline or a spiritual guru. All you need is to make one choice, the lightest, simplest, most realistic step you can take, and then repeat it. One day, without realizing it, you'll look in the mirror and notice the change: calmer energy, stronger presence, steadier emotions, and a rhythm of life that feels more natural. The vitality you thought you had lost will return, and the time you thought had slipped away will once again belong to you. I can tell you this because it happened to me. At 94, after everything I've lived, I can say with complete certainty, you don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start with something. Sometimes it's that very first gesture, the glass of water, the step into the sun, the stretch, the mindful meal, or the moment of stillness that sets in motion a transformation far bigger than you imagine. And if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. That alone shows you're searching for more health, more clarity, more strength, and more control over your days. The truth is, none of this depends on your age or your past. It depends only on the choice to begin treating yourself with the respect you deserve. The 5 habits I shared with you are not miracles. They're small, simple, and practical choices. But practiced with consistency, they hold the power to transform not just your body, but the way you live. If you feel disconnected, exhausted before the day even begins, or stuck in a cycle that feels unbreakable, then pick one habit and start today. Just one. And if this video gave you a little clarity, a sense of relief, or even just a spark of hope, give it a like. That small gesture tells me this kind of message matters, and it helps the video reach more people who might need it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I still have so much more to share with you. Always grounded in truth, simplicity, and lived experience. Before you leave, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from and how old are you? I'd love to know who's walking this path with me, because taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It's a commitment, a promise to the life you still have ahead of you.